So we should sort of break this down a little bit. At first, Tyron left in practice. Not during the game.
Didn't.
Sean Lee left during the game. Still, regardless, it was a huge void left.
They were missing the key players in 3 different positions.
Yeah, and which we talked about the other day. Like, if those were the 3 players you were going to miss.
Right, we didn't know that they were going to be missing Tyron Smith and Sean Lee when we talked about how those were the two guys more important than Zeke for this team. They ended up being without all 3. But
well,
sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of Zeke, are the Cowboys in trouble without him in the lineup based on everything you saw yesterday?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I don't like to be the guy to say, I told you so, but Zeke is not a regular football player. He's not a regular running back. It's not like we draft kids out of the NFL every 2, 3, 4, 5 years that are like him. No, he's a very special player. And it's not just because his overall running the skills, but it's his ability to be physical with the football. He's a 3-down back. He's great in blitz pickup. The defense has to do so many things to try to take him away from the Dallas Cowboys that they don't do for other teams. Now, I believe in Dak. It seems like with this argument with Dallas, like, is it Dak or is it Zeke? Like, who's important? It's football. It's the ultimate team sport. It's hard to replace great players. And when you start to see when a great player misses, you see there's no next man up. The drop-off is tremendous, and it affects the football team. And I knew Zeke being out, it would affect Dallas, but it would affect Dak more than anyone else. Because when you don't have them, you don't realize how much you missed them. And that's what we saw yesterday with the Cowboys in Atlanta.
So all of that may be true, but even if Zeke were playing yesterday, the Cowboys, to me, would have lost that football game. Because the biggest loss was not Ezekiel Elliott, it was Tyron Smith. The Tyron Smith not being out there and replacing a guy who might be the best left tackle in football, certainly when he's healthy on the very short list, with a guy who appeared to not be an NFL-level player in Chaz Green. Now, maybe this was a one-off for him. I know he started the season at left guard. He got replaced by Jonathan Cooper. Yeah. He's now their backup left tackle.
I don't think that's fair to Chaz Green because he is a quality NFL lineman. But, Nick, there's only a few people that God makes that can play left tackle.
Okay.
All right? And who he was replacing. We're talking about one of the great left tackles that we've seen in the NFL the last 10 years in Tyron Smith. When he pulls out of he got hurt in practice, his groin. Now, he's been nursing a back. So they've had a lot of repetition with backups in there because he's missed so much time. But I don't think it's fair to Chaz moving him from guard to tackle. You're talking about a tremendous jump. And why didn't they put the tight end on the other side?
So that's what I want to talk about. Because, listen, I understand. Maybe I was a little harsh on Chaz.
Yes.
But the guy he was up against, Adrian Claiborne, is not some future Hall of Famer.
No.
Adrian Claiborne is a guy who went into the game last night, or yesterday afternoon, I guess depending on where you were in the country, with fewer than 25 career sacks. Adrian Claiborne went into the game yesterday where his career high for a season was 7.5 sacks.
Yes.
And now he is on a list with only Derek Thomas ahead of him for most sacks in a single game with 6. Like, Adrian Claiborne consistently beating Chaz Green, to me, showed that Chaz wasn't ready to play that left tackle spot, showed that Jason Garrett needed to make an adjustment. This is what Ziggy Ansah did to Eric Flowers on steroids, and it showed that the Cowboys' offense, that we have given the offensive line a tremendous amount of credit for, that somehow maybe we haven't been giving the offensive line quite enough credit. Because the moment that left tackle was gone, everything they tried to do broke down. I know Zeke wasn't there, and I understand you can key off defensively differently when Zeke's not in the backfield. But to me, the biggest missing piece was not the running back, it was the left tackle.
Real quick, can you break down why the left tackle position is so hard to play, hard to find players to play it, and so important? Because we talk about it all the time, that left tackle position is just so crucial for any offensive line to work together.
Well, the left side of the offense, defenses traditionally have put on their right side their best rusher, Lawrence Taylor. All right? He played right outside linebacker. So you knew you had to have a very good athlete. Now, the guy has to be a good athlete. He also has to have very, very long arms. He's got to be able to block by himself most of the game. But also, he's got to be powerful enough that they can create a running game to the weak side, because most of America, the majority of America is right-handed. So are most football coaches, and so are most teams. So when they design plays, This is just how they do it. Most of the formations are right-handed formations. The hashes are in the middle of the field, so coaches can get away with that. Their brain thinks right, they line up right, and the most valuable offensive lineman is that left tackle, because if you can't sit in the pocket and protect the blind side of the quarterback without him having assurance that he's going to have time, it affects the quarterback in him staying with his reads, how long he holds on to the football. So that is the most important position, and that's also why when they divvy out the money from an offensive standpoint, the quarterback, the left tackle, the wide receivers, they get paid the most money.
So nothing against Chaz, you just can't slide that guy right into left tackle.
Well, I mean,
the skill that it takes to play left tackle, also, you don't have any help to your left or to your right, even though you have a left guard. When you play left guard, I have you as the tackle, Jenna. I also have the center. So I'm fighting in a phone booth. Now, when you get out onto the left tackle, it's almost like you're in the express lane on the freeway. And the type of athlete that you're going against is totally different.
Well, and the reality is the Dallas Cowboys yesterday were without, aside from Dak, their 3 best players. Sean Lee, we know how bad this defense is without him compared to with him. They've now played 3 games this year that he either missed entirely or last night was knocked out early on. They are 0-3 in those football games, allowing nearly double as many yards rushing in those games as they have the other 6 games they've played. So that's one factor. Not having Ezekiel Elliott is obviously an enormous factor, if for no other reason than you feel like you have to call more pass plays because Zeke isn't there, and because Tyron Smith's not there, you can't guard, you can't block on those pass plays. And it also, Tyron Smith not being out there hurt their running game. They ran Alfred Morris, I think, 20 times. However many times they ran Alfred Morris, 11 times, pardon me. Every single one of those was to the right side. They didn't run Alfred Morris left of the center once the entire football game. Running off left tackle has been like the biggest staple of this Cowboys offense when Zeke's out there and when Tyron Smith's out there.
And I'm sure if Zeke was there, they would have run to the left or to the right. The one thing that Cowboys fans should get used to, because if Tyron misses any more time, and without Zeke, he's going to get sacked more anyway, because they're going to have to throw the ball more. This is a list of quarterbacks that have been sacked more than 6 times. Alex Smith, he's been sacked 9 times. All right, so don't feel bad for that.
Oh, in one football game.
Yes,
okay.
Aaron Rodgers, he's been sacked more than 6 times, 7 times. Russell Wilson, 7 times. Phillip Rivers, 5. Roethlisberger, 5. Matthew Stafford, 5. Matty Ryan, 4. And even Tony Romo, 3 times. So this happens around the league.
Jason Garrett can't make adjustments during the game to help that left tackle? He sees what's happening?
Listen, I understand that once you bring in, Chris, you taught me this, once you bring in a tight end, whether it's Jason Witten or whomever, to come in and block on that left side, you are going to have fewer options throwing the football. I get that, and they were having trouble throwing the football already. But you have no chance throwing the football if your quarterback's lying down. Like, you've got to make an adjustment. The only adjustment they made was late in the game benching the player. You've got to see if all of a sudden the offense is going to open up more if you start giving help on that left side, even though it restricts your offense.
This is the problem. This is what they should have done. Go to 2 tight ends so you don't have a strong formation. Go to a 1-back set. Cole Beasley got to sit on the bench, and you play with 2 wideouts outside. That's how you counter when you have one weakness on one side of the line and you don't want to dictate to the defense what you're trying to do. Put a tight end on both sides, and Witten can still go out. The other tight end can stay in and block.
Listen, I get that the Cowboys were without 3 of their 4 best players. I understand that the Falcons were playing for their season. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances, but the reality is the Dallas Cowboys just played the worst game they have played since Dak Prescott became the starting quarterback. Week 1, his rookie year, was the worst game they'd played up until right now, and it came at just about the worst possible time. They're now 5-4. Atlanta, which is trying to stay alive, now has that head-to-head tiebreaker, and next week you're going up against the team with the best record in the NFL.
Russell Wilson lost his left tackle. Aaron Rodgers lost his left tackle. They still managed to go out there and play. So I'm not in the excuse business.
All right, without Zeke, we wanted the Cowboys to at least go 2-2. They're already behind the 8 ball there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.